Hello and welcome to anybody and everybody who's stumbling across this video. So this is my story time of the time I went to Porto with my roommate. Basically, some background for this trip is that it was my first ever trip with that roommate to somewhere that was outside of Spain. So yeah, basically a thing that we did on almost every trip was we would look at the weather and it would turn out to be stormy, rainy, like downpouring, hail, whatever natural catastrophe you can think of was going on. And this was the same case for the first ever trip we went on. It just said, for the 2 days you're here, it's gonna be fully raining. You're not gonna get any good pictures outside, so scratch that off the list. And you're not gonna be able to walk around the city comfortably. Plus, you're gonna probably get a cold. So we were mentally prepared for that. Did discuss paying an Etsy witch to, I think she's here with us, to just work on the weather and make it so it was sunny and, you know, something better than what we were seeing on the weather app. But decided to roll the dice on that instead. And when we went, we were pretty lucky. It was gray and cloudy, but it definitely did not rain at all. So I think we used up all of our luck for all of our other trips in this one instance. Honestly, kind of worth it. But anyway, we did end up arriving late afternoon, so we just immediately went to find the hostel and just walked around the city for a little bit. When we did, one of the things that we constantly had happen to us was we couldn't locate the entrance of the hostel. Now, I don't know if this is truly an us issue or a general hostel issue. The name of the hostel was this big on the door and it looked like a random building, so we did end up finally getting in and figuring it out. But two things that immediately threw us off track was one, we thought we booked a women's only dorm and were prepared for that, but turned out it was mixed. I'm gonna assume it was our fault like it was with most things, but not sure. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they mixed it up and we didn't want to bring it up, so we were like, fine, whatever, we'll just roll with the punches. And the second thing was harder to get over, which was, I don't know if you know of this, but it's like a triple bunk bed situation, which I knew about, but I hadn't seen in real life or had the pleasure of using. Definitely don't recommend. No matter where you end up on the spectrum, it's not going to be a good time, like guaranteed. They always say the bottom bunk is the best one to have it's the worst one to have. I mixed it up. In my mind, I think it's the best because you can get out easily and leave. People say it's worst because people can take your things and it's like uncomfortable, whatever. Here, truly all of them were equally bad options. My roommate ended up stuck between me and this random on the bottom. So she had to, whenever I would turn, she ended up turning with me. And it wasn't uncomfortable. And me, personally, I did not have a good time. One, I basically needed climbing gear to get on the top bunk. And second, I think my nose touched the ceiling at 4 different points of the night. So I wouldn't call that comfortable. But, again, still manageable, I guess. So for the first night, since we arrived that late, our only goal was to walk around the city, sightsee. We ended up going to this viewpoint where we could see the whole city. It was gorgeous. And the second thing and most important thing, and our main goal, every place we go, was to find food. And my friend ended up looking for places online. She found this restaurant that we walked to. It was chef's kiss, the best food I've ever had, full stop. And at one point we were nervous about how much we'd have to pay because the waiter was being extra kind and we assumed we'd have to pay for the service and double the amount that we were supposed to pay for the food. But it did not end up happening. And honestly, I would have been happy leaving my credit card with them and leaving. It was worth every penny. And it was fairly reasonable given like the quality of the food as well. So that was that. We had this romantic-esque evening eating the dinner together and vibing around the city, and we called it a day. And the next morning, because we couldn't see any of the museums the day before and we'd already tried the local foods, you could assume what our first goal was, which was, say it with me, to find food. I wouldn't call us food driven, some might, but yeah, that was our goal immediately the moment we woke up. So given my roommate's proving her worth in this field, I just left it to her to figure out where we were gonna eat. And she found this one cafe that we had to walk quite a while to. We went in expecting to have like a good amount of options for the food that we were gonna try. It ended up being a place that only sold nata, which is like the local pastry there. And I would have complained because I wanted to eat a lot more, but honestly, it was more of a museum than it was a cafe. Like there was a chef there that you could watch making the nata. It was one of the most educationals we did in any trip ever. I don't know what that says about us as people culturally, but it was worth it. Like I really enjoyed myself. And we did end up going to a separate place to eat. So if you were concerned about us being full and eating to the maximum level, don't worry, we got that covered. And afterwards, the one touristy thing that I really wanted to do was go to the Chapel of Souls to take pictures and also see it and experience it as well. I think we walked by it when we were going to the hostel the first day, but we hadn't really stopped outside it and, or went in. So we get there. But the thing is that me and my roommate, again, we're like not very close at this point. We haven't gotten to know each other or comfortable with each other yet. So I didn't feel that love and comfortability enough to yell at her to take 1,000 pictures of me. And she didn't feel that sisterly bond to tell me that I needed psychiatric or professional help. So we ended up just doing the cutesy thing of, hey, could you take one more picture, please? And she obviously couldn't say no, so it was the perfect system for me. I still ended up getting what I wanted, basically. We did end up taking some pictures, and we went to this one museum, and while we were in line, the person working at the reception desk said there would be another 20 minutes before the tour started, and you couldn't go in on your own, you needed a tour guide. So we decided we'd go to another place that was nearby in the meantime and sightsee there. But the moment we walked outside, it started downpouring. And when I say downpouring, I don't mean like it was rain, like it wasn't a normal amount. It felt like if I wanted to, I could swim to that location and back instead of walking. So it was really bad. Plus, we were definitely not dressed correctly for the weather at all. I don't know if it was optimism or manifesting, but we went with skirts, sports shoes, and that's it. I did have a coat on, which I ended up having to use as an umbrella because we didn't have those either. And it ended up being wet on both sides. Like it was wet the whole way through. And I don't think it dried until 2 weeks after I returned to Spain anyway. So that can give you an indication of how bad it was for us. And we had to like run to the second location. We get there, we're at the museum, we're walking around, and we had to be, we had to be very like quick with it because we had only 20 minutes, and to turn back we needed to account for the time that it took to walk back. But imagine this atmosphere of like this very pretty building that's very historic. Everyone's really quiet because they've either sheltered there from the weather or they were just walking around and they didn't get caught in the rain either. And as we're walking and they're like looking at these beautiful paintings and these structures, you just hear like these squeaking and squelching noises of our shoes the whole way. I think it added ambiance a little bit, not gonna lie. It was like a nice contrast. I'm sure it didn't bother anyone around us at all. And when we had to run out, they could hear that same noise going really quickly out. And at the other place that we went back to with the tour guide and everything, it was the same thing. So the whole tour, it just sounded like a pack of ducks was just, I don't know what they're called, was following this tour guide. So yeah, it wasn't the best. Definitely, potentially got sick from that, as one most likely would. But after all of that, the only thing that was left for us to do that we really wanted to do before leaving was, can you guess? Not food, wine. So it was a bit different. We really wanted to try a local wine and see how it tasted, you know. When in Portugal, definitely taste the wine. So we go to this bar that's overly edgy and cool. So much so that we definitely did not fit in. And we go there and it's a great time, honestly. Like, despite not fitting in, we had a great time. Like, we were just in our own zone, hanging out. And on the way back to the hostel, we decided, since it was our last night there and we had to get up at 5 in the morning the next day and wouldn't have time to eat, we should get some pastries and eat them on the way. So we got some stuff, took it back to the place, and the hostel had this like big kitchen area where there was like this huge dining table that you could eat at. So it was like really comfortable and there was no one there, given that it was 1 in the morning. That may have been a factor, not sure. We ended up watching Singles Inferno and eating pastries for another hour, I think. Definitely not the smartest thing to do when you have to leave at 5 in the morning and have only 3 hours to sleep. But hindsight is 2020, I guess. I don't know. Nevertheless, she persisted, and we go back to the room. Horrible sleeping situation. All the clothes that we brought that were okay for outside wear were wet, so ended up having to basically lay them out on the beds that we were sleeping in. And you can imagine me with my whole rucksack trying to climb this 3-story building basically and scale it. And yeah, I hauled myself up there, and honestly, I wasn't even sure I'd make it out of there in the next day, but managed it fine. I do think I was the crankiest I've ever been that morning, having to wake up in like 3 hours, fully having to put on a coat that was still wet from the day before. But you live and you learn, definitely a learning moment. But in my defense, the only shoes I had back home were boots with heels, and I decided I would rather be wet and cold than have to walk around in heels and then take them off and walk in socks. So I would say it wasn't the worst choice. Definitely not the best though. But yeah, so that was our trip in totality to Porto. I really enjoyed my time there. Definitely recommend if you've never been. The food's amazing. The city's amazing. Would go when it's not raining and the weather's a bit better, but to each their own. Honestly, as an experience, it was a 10 out of 10 despite the weather. So yeah, see you next time. Bye.